Henry Bishop married Edward Harrison in 1936. He was a private in the 1st Battalion of the Middlesex Regiment, and at the age of 24 was sent overseas to fight in World War II.
The battalion was stationed in Hong Kong, and generally speaking the quality of life for soldiers in Hong Kong was quite good because the cost of living was quite low, so soldiers' wages went quite a long way. However, on the other side you had quite a lot of tropical diseases that soldiers suffered from, so it was a mixed bag.
But for the young Edward, the war was about to take a nasty twist. The Japanese attacked the harbour that Edward's battalion was protecting, and he was taken as prisoner of war.
All of the prisoners of war from the Hong Kong region were sent to Sham Shui Po barracks, which were a former military barracks that had been looted by the Chinese in the panic of the invasion and had been stripped bare of absolutely anything.
Once captured, Edward would have been transported to mainland Japan,
where they would work for major Japanese corporations and do work such as in sugar factories or metal work or farming or loading and unloading of barges. They were expected to essentially be slave labour for the Japanese army.
But things were about to get even worse. Edward was sent to Japan on a boat called the Lisbon Maru. On the way, it was hit by a torpedo, and Edward and his fellow prisoners were abandoned on board.
After approximately a day of being trapped, one of the soldiers had smuggled a butcher's knife on board, and eventually, through perseverance, they were able to cut a large enough hole in the canvas that a couple of the soldiers were able to actually crawl out. So all of the men tried to make an escape bid. Many of them jumped overboard and were fired upon in the water. The currents swept them towards the Singpan Islands, which were Chinese islands. Some people were dashed against the rocks and therefore didn't survive, but some of the prisoners of war were actually able to get to the islands.
In a way, Edward was one of the lucky ones and survived. However, he was soon rounded up by the Japanese and taken to the mainland. Tragically, Edward died 2 weeks later.
Edward Harrison is now buried along with 1,500 of his fellow soldiers in the Yokohama War Cemetery, which was built to honour soldiers from Commonwealth countries.